now that the timer has actually started and we're on live. Um, yeah, I'm going to come out Fridays. I'm going to be like, okay, we're going to put out calls on
This will
Fridays.
be a
That's it.
Flores Friday.
This will be a Flores Friday. 5 with Flores, Fridays with Flores. What does five with Flores mean? Do you know
So,
after all this time?
I do. So, I went through this phase, so I think it's around 2000 and I want to say 2008, where I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do like a lot of speaking. I wanted to do a lot of like marketing speaking, like sell from the stage type stuff. Like I had done even at that age, like I was like barely in my 30s, but I'd already done really successful like online digital marketing type stuff. But I started getting exposed to these guys who were like doing info products and selling from the stage and stuff. And I'm wildly better at any of this than these people who are like purporting themselves to be experts, right? So I got to like a business contact. Again, I loosely say a friend. You know, you have a lot of people you'd call your friend who are like a business contact. He was having a seminar in Florida, and I flew down to speak at his seminar, and it was like 2008. And somebody else who ended up being friends with by the name of Jonathan Fields, who's like a pretty successful. He's like written a bunch of books and has done some interesting stuff. He was on this platform called Twitter, and I didn't have a Twitter account yet. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll do this. And I'm like, I'm just going to do this cohesive, all these things. So I got the domain 5withflores.com. I got a Twitter, YouTube, and everything. And I was pretty strong in Magic YouTube to begin with. I joke I'd probably be like a YouTube billionaire now if I hadn't stopped, right? Like I was so early at doing Magic videos. You can go back and look at my 2008 videos of like 10,000, 14,000 downloads. That was kind of a lot back then. Like today it's not a lot, right? But it was kind of a lot back then. But I was so early.
It compounds, right?
I was getting like cease and desist from Google, from YouTube. They're like, do you have the license to like be putting this gameplay footage on? Like that was literally like the emails I was getting.
Real.
And I'm like, well, I am a paid like official consultant for Hasbro. And in fact, this video was embedded
on the website. Yeah,
but this is embedded on their website, right? Like I would send them a link, and they're like, I don't know, this doesn't seem kosher to us, and which is crazy. You know, so I joked to Alex Schwartzman once because I know you talked to Alex also, right? So earlier than that, around 2003, I fancied myself to be a comic book artist, and you know, I'd gotten a movie deal. I joke I was just like I was in Daily Variety before I was 20.
No, I mean you're another candidate for most interesting person in the world. But continue.
I got a book deal, like all this stuff, and like making comics is really hard. You talked to BDM like yesterday, like, you know, BDM is such a successful comics creator. People don't know that about him. But that's hard. It's a lot of work. And my Magic writing was taking off. And so at some point I was like, I mean, I was never going to get rich writing Magic, but like I was making kind of a lot of money. like really like kind of a lot of money like writing Magic articles. And I'm like, I love playing Magic, and I'm like making kind of a lot of money at this Magic side hustle. And making comics is really hard, and it's really time consuming. And the editor says no to me, right? Like Magic editors did not say no to me for the most part. Like, so
yeah, that's right.
So I kind of chose to do Magic instead of comics. And you know, I used to talk to Matt Cavada about this all the time. You know, Matt Cavada is a
Cleveland strong. Yep.
Yeah, like our guy Watson. We were from the same neighborhood in the Cleveland area, and he was just like, "Oh man, tell me about this comics thing." He actually requisitioned me to do art for one of the Kamigawa sets that never went through. But anyway, 5 with Flores. So I had this whole idea, which was I'm gonna have like this online thing. Again, who had like online personas back then? I'm like, gonna have a Twitter account, the YouTube page, and my own website. And the whole idea was I was gonna make 5-minute videos. So I had like short form video already like in my head. The problem was like, I think if I had had this level of vision, I'm like 20 years ahead of the game, right? At this point. And like the support from the platforms that you have today, I would have been wildly successful. But like editing even like a 5 or 8 minute video was like arduous. The amount of compression time on even a high end Mac at the time was taking a lot of time, and
Hmm.
I wasn't getting paid any extra for this at the time. I was making like, again, kind of a lot of money writing Magic articles, but I was just like making these videos that I was sticking in the Magic articles, and people loved it. And they're like, "Oh, I love this. This is so
I don't.
innovative." Blah blah blah.
Has
But I wasn't.
anyone written more about Magic than you? Like, has anyone written more
Mark,
words
I
about Magic? You think
I
Rosewater?
think. I mean, it's just me and Mark. Like, I think like me, Mark, and Patrick made like Patrick. I'm not sure how much of it is recycled, and Patrick is public about this, right? I've written a
Yeah.
lot of Patrick's books, right? So, so
Okay.
like there'll be like a thing like, and special thanks to Michael Flores who contributed to this book, like So I contributed heftily to some of Patrick's books.
Okay.
But I think Patrick, because he's written 3 books now, and I don't know how much of the new Next Level Magic that's being kickstarted right now is
Hmm.
new. I wrote 2 chapters of it though, right? So, that were completely new chapters. And, he has like, Seth Manfield, Reed Duke wrote new stuff. But I wrote a sizable chunk of next level deck building, right? Not like a
Hmm.
fourth, but like a pretty substantial amount. But if you like control for Patrick's the fact that he wrote 3 books, I think, but
Hmm.
he hasn't been that active in the last few years. So I think like I never really stopped, right? So
Yeah.
that's
I
got to
mean,
be
you, when I told you, hey, man,
yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to talk to friends and see how it goes. I'm like, hey, do you want to do a podcast with me? And you actually kind of panicked for a second because how many podcasts do you do at once? Like, or like that you are like a steward of?
It's hard to say. Like theoretically, Patrick and I
It's hard to say.
got top level podcast back together, right? So
Okay.
we did like a set review for Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was at this point 2 sets ago because their set releases are so
They're
frequent,
very
right?
fast. Yeah.
Right. So we did a lot of content for that, and we had been dark for like 4 or 5 years, but that was a wildly popular podcast when we were up for five
Your
5 years.
beloved figures in the magic community.
11 figures. What does that mean?
No, beloved, it's a word
Oh,
that
beloved
like
figures. Oh,
implies that they like you a lot and appreciate your existence.
I think that we're both very hot and cold. I think some people like us a lot, and some people other opinions.
What
Oh,
determines? I'm like, I don't know the difference. I like both of you and
yeah.
don't pay attention to the internet by and large. So, like, is there like a signal for who will like you or Patrick or not? Do you have any idea?
I think that I have. I think I can speak for myself. I think I
Okay.
have softened in my old age. But
Okay.
I used to play hard, Brian. Like, I used to play hard. Like, and I think, like, I didn't play unfairly, but I used to play hard. And I think that, like, people who are not used to playing hard, they don't like when
I
somebody else
remember when
plays
I
hard.
met you. Do you remember when I met you? I remember when I met you.
I don't remember when I met you.
You won a Pro Tour qualifier with the Red Black deck and Ice Age Alliances. I
I
was there,
remember
and
that.
David Price and I think, played in the first round, but David was the slowest player in the world, pretty much. And so
Yeah.
we both drew. And then that put David out of contention because I think he just played against other slow players for the rest of the tournament. And you won the tournament, and it was like, who is this guy? He's cocky and brash, like.
Oh, I was cocky and brash.
And that was the last time you were cocky and brash.
Uh, I I wish that were true. But, I don't but, I don't remember meeting you at that tournament. I don't think like, I knew that I knew you at some point before then, but my first real conception of you was around, Pro Tour LA 1998, which was about 2 years after that. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew you before that, but, like, my picture of you as a person, because you weren't, you almost top 8 at that Pro Tour, right? With the
yeah,
Trained
yeah,
Armad deck.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
um, and like the picture that I had of you was if you like put the players into quadrants, like some people had like, this person has perfect strategy. And I was just like, I put myself in like, I have very high strategy and I fail on execution sometimes, right? But
Mhm.
the players that I was talking to at the time were like Brian Schneider is in the quadrant of perfect strategy and perfect execution. He's just unlucky. Like that was like,
That's nice of him to say.
and I was like, Brian Schneider is like challenging for best player in the world, and like that was the picture that I had of you, and that like you you just didn't play hard, right? Like if you think about like John Finkel in that era, he had his first Pro Tour top 8 at that point, but he played really hard. Like at that point, like Dave Price played for blood, like
Yeah, they were
those are
more
my
hungry for
influences,
sure.
right? Like
Hmm.
Dave played for blood, and I mean he was one of my best friends, and he played for blood. Okay,
Yeah, he would consume you for
I
sport
remember
to his need. Yeah.
I sat down at a Pro Tour qualifier in Columbus, Ohio, against Worth Walpert, who was my first roommate on the Pro Tour. Grew up in the same store that I grew up in, right? And he's
Hmm.
like, for the next 45 minutes, it's prison rules, right? And all right, and I beat him, right? So like the thing is, and Worth got his first Pro Tour top 8, later that season. But like our language with each other was like, okay, nobody's gonna cheat against each other, okay? But like no takesies, backsies, no, like we are serious men doing a serious thing. And
I'm going to take whenever you tap a pain land, I will write down your score. We are paying very close attention to every maneuver. Yeah.
if you think about a player who has a reputation for like upholding justice or whatever, I just have this very clear picture, which was I was talking on the telephone with Chris Bakula in like 1999, I think. And like the telephone, we didn't have cell phones or anything. I don't remember. Like I was talking on the telephone with Chris Bakula because I think I had to interview him for a Duelist article. And
Okay.
he's, what are you doing this weekend? And I'm like, oh, it's my parents' wedding anniversary. So I'm going to go to dinner with them. And he said, is going to your parents' wedding anniversary going to qualify for the Pro Tour? So I went to my parents' wedding anniversary dinner, and then I was in an ice-ridden car with Matt Cavada the next day in Detroit, Michigan, and I won the qualifier, right? And I was just like, I would not have won the qualifier if I hadn't talked to Chris Cool. And I often think back to that moment. I'm like, and that was like a stretch for me, like where I just qualified for every Pro Tour that year, like, and like for the next year. And I'm like, would I even still be playing serious Magic if I didn't have that phone conversation with Chris Cool? And the answer is, I don't know. Like maybe, probably people are like, you're such a maniac. Like you must have. I'm like, but would I have been such a maniac if I didn't win that qualifier in 1999? Like I don't know. Maybe 1998, whatever year it was. So I'm wearing a
Yeah,
Pro
I was
Tour
curious.
LA 1998 competitor T-shirt. I was visiting my
Nice.
parents over the holidays, and I was just like, I had all my laundry was dirty, so I just like they still had clothes of mine. So I'm like, this is an XL T-shirt, which is
Yeah, it's
two
incredible.
sizes too big for 2026 Michael J. But I thought it'd be funny to wear on this
It's the
call.
fashion of the times. I was like, I definitely wanted to interrupt you at some point just to talk about the shirt
Yeah,
because it's it is of like 90s fashion, which is no longer how they make t-shirts, right? If you order a t-shirt off of like any of the t-shirt makers, I don't know if it's Redbubble or uh anything, it's like extremely contour. Like the shirts and fabrics have come like a long way since 1998. And it's nice to see, to be back in 1998.
but I just thought it'd be funny to wear for this call,
I appreciate it.
along with my Paris Cavs hat. Um,
Hmm.
I made a mistake playing in a league finals a few months ago, and Landy Ho was doing sideline reporting, and
Okay.
he said, "You no longer deserve this," and he took my hat away. So
Wow.
I meant to go play a land and pass the turn, but instead I just put my fire blast on the battlefield. So like my opponent now knew I had fire blast, and
Ooh.
like all of the turns where my opponent would have been like impulse at the end of your turn or whatever, that just never happened again, right? Like, the entire game. So like,
It's like the
like so I was just like, he's like, you no longer deserve this. It
the
wasn't
Gary.
like a gameplay mistake; it was just a mechanic mistake.
Okay, there was a Gary Wise story where he just didn't play a land on turn one, and then he lost because of it, but he would have won otherwise. That was probably the most heartbreaking tournament story I've ever heard. Uh, that was like criminally painful for everyone.
Didn't he?
I,
Didn't he shock a morph playing for a top 8 against Patrick Sullivan when Patrick Sullivan was at 2 life? Like
yeah, I do.
I
I do think
believe
that
that is
was
a thing that happened.
Gary's in the Hall of Fame.
He is, and he's a wonderful limited player.
He is a
And I
wonderful limited
believe he
player,
shocked a
a
morph
fun,
when his opponent was at 2 life.
a fun human. Yeah, there was something. Oh, who's the best interview? You've interviewed people for like 30 years almost. Like if you could only interview one person for the rest of your life.
The best interview?
Yeah, like if you had to write all these articles, you can only talk to one Magic player for the rest of your life. And it's not you.
If
Who is
I
it
could
gonna
only
be?
talk to one Magic player for the rest of
Just one. Just everyone else is
about
gone.
Magic or about like anything.
Anything. Maybe even distinguish. If it's just Magic X, if it's everything else, why?
Oh,
Fine. They're not going to judge you. No one's going to listen to this.
I think player one is Brian David Marshall.
Yeah.
And then player two is Landy Ho. Landy Ho makes
Okay.
everything better. He makes he brings a musical quality to the mundanity of doing whatever you're doing, Magic articles or hanging out or whatever. But I think I think column B is Landy, and Landy Ho. Column A is Brian David Marshall.
There's a Land Ho story that I don't think anyone knows, or Landy Ho, as you know him. And I think it was a missed opportunity, and I'll talk to him about it. We're going to talk in the next couple of weeks. But Lan, I hooked him up at some point when I was at Wizards to be like on the flavor team, writing flavor text and naming cards.
Yeah.
And like, Lan, he probably would have been incredible at it, but he couldn't he didn't get as into it as I expected. And I kind of feel like he would have been incredible at it based on his like worldliness and like creativity. Regardless, it's not what motivated him. And that interests me because he's so talented. You're like, what are you going to do with this creativity? And he's like, I'm going to enjoy people with this. I'm like, enjoy people.
He
make products. No, I'm just kidding.
Ask Land, what is your dream job?
Yeah.
If money were not a factor, what's your dream job? And he would say dinner guest.
Yeah.
So ask him that question. Write that down and see what it is. I believe he
All right,
will
I'll put it on my
dinner.
list. All right. I haven't even gotten to Land yet. I'll put it at the bottom. You talk and interject for 3 minutes. Well, no, it'll just take a second. Land, dinner. Oh, not dinner guest. Ideal job. Done. This isn't the first time that I've had a mental note. Devin Lowe's going to come on in a couple of weeks, and also, Universes Beyond is, a mishmash of every IP ever. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and your baby pictures are the Pro Tour Hall of Fame baby albums all as a set. I feel like there's a whole bunch of IPs, but Legendary actually does it right. So it's going to be interesting to see what his perspective on it is, as the person who's probably made the most published expansions for a game ever. So
I have very strong opinions about Universes Beyond.
I am not I am willing to hear you out on any direction, but I do have like a box of Avatar right back there.
Avatar's a good set.
I like that IP. I like that
excellent
IP.
set to play in Magic the Gathering. My big problem with it is
you played Magic for the last 30 years?
I don't care about, do you know Taya Steele? Taya, I don't know what her last name is.
Oh, I've seen the name.
Okay. She's the first person who is a wonderful human being, by the way. She was the first person who ever explained to me that people cared whether slivers had arms or not. It's like when slivers got re-released in like some core set, I guess they had arms. And like the sliver, like when you played Metallic Sliver nearly to the top 8 of that Pro Tour LA, they didn't have any arms, right? And I'm like, I don't care.
Yes.
Yes,
of course they didn't have that.
Yeah, right. Like, it never occurred to me that people cared if Sliver had arms until Taya said
didn't even know it had art.
In like 2011 or something, she said this to me, right? So like many years after the first release of Sliver. I'm not like one of these people who's gaga about whether something is WotC IP or not. In the circles I run in today, people are like, oh my gosh, Lorwyn is the most important set of 2025, 2026, because it's WotC IP. It's like the only one, right? Everything else is like...
It's crazy. It feels crazy.
Is Avatar and everything. And I'm like, I don't care about that. It doesn't matter to me. What I care about is the long-term health and longevity of Magic the Gathering, which is the thing that I have, in the words of Aaron Forsyth, right? Aaron Forsyth said this 20 years ago, and it's probably more true now than it was then. He's just like, just look at the internet. You can see Michael Flores' adult life play out, right? Like,
Mhm, mhm,
it's probably more true now, right? So, uh, in the form of magic articles, right? And I I had this conversation with Zach Hill, you
mhm,
know, a bunch of we're talking past and present R&D members, right? Zach Hill. And
mhm,
Zach was working on the original Modern Horizons 2. At the time, Modern Horizons 2 ended up being quote unquote the best selling Magic the Gathering set of all time, right? And he told me this story about the mandate for Modern Horizons 2 changing in the middle, right? And he wrote in Zach Hill fashion, he wrote his position paper as to why this was the worst idea ever, right? But Zach's thesis is magic is a magic button, and you press the button and money comes out the other end. You could keep pressing the button forever, right? Look, all indications are you could keep pressing the button forever. But if you start doing this, right, something changes, which is that it's actually not forever. It's just the human perception of forever, but it's actually an area underneath the slope, right, that we
mhm,
perceive to be forever. And you have just shortened the endpoint of that by power creeping these cards. You're front loading the total amount of money that can be generated from selling magic articles. And the more you print sets like this, you keep shoving the end of this forward to creating like it's the amount of money doesn't change, but the amount of time that you can keep pressing the magic button changes, and
mhm,
that like you think you're making more money because the number now goes up so high, right? But you're
mhm.
trading a higher number now for the length of time that you can keep
Yeah,
pressing
you're
the magic.
pulling it forward, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had never thought about that before, and then I realized, I mean, like at the time, do you know what Ragavan is? You don't keep up with this stuff. Okay.
No, what is that?
Ragavan is an incredibly absurd Magic the Gathering card. Imagine
Okay,
like Jackal with haste that's also Ophidian and can't be removed by sorcery speed removal.
sounds fun.
Yeah, it costs 1 mana. Sometimes it
Woo.
costs 2 sometimes, okay?
Mhm,
Ragavan was one of the premier cards for Modern Horizons too. But it's just like, if you keep printing nuclear missiles at 1 mana and giving them to people. Oh, no, it doesn't have Jackalpup's drawback of dealing damage to you. It's just a 2/1 for R
alright,
that has
Savannah
haste and
Lion,
also is
plus,
an
plus,
Ophidian,
plus.
but it also makes Lotus Petals. Okay, like this card, this card does a lot for 1 mana, Brian Schneider. If they still had a development team and you were in charge of it, might have had
That's
a different decision
above the
around it,
line, yeah, above the line. It's
right?
above 8. You would rate it as 11 or
Yeah,
infinity
so
or something.
that was a premier card for Modern Horizons 2. Okay,
Mhm, mhm.
it's just like, well, if you keep printing these cards, the problem is like, what is Zach said, because there hadn't been Modern Horizons 3, he's like, "What does Modern Horizons 10 look like?" It's like, "This is what it looks like now." Like, if you print this, like, what does Modern Horizons 3 look like? You can't keep compressing so much value into the cards. Cards will become unprintable, right? And, like, that's what it looks like to compress this. We have different problems now. Ragavan isn't good enough to play anymore. That is a flabbergasting state. The level of power creep in Modern is so high that Ragavan, the card that I just described to you, which like 3 years ago was like, "This card is too powerful," is almost unplayable now. Okay, like that is crazy statement to make, okay? I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about this. I think
Yeah, I mean,
Modern itself as a format has lost its mandate. So that's a thing I don't like, but, um
yeah, who I don't know, like, how that gets managed now. My It does seem like sales is probably the thing that matters most because Hasbro hasn't been doing well for a while and doesn't have a lot going for it, right?
alright,
It
so
doesn't have great IP. It's not, like,
are you kidding? It
playing in
has
the right
phenomenal
spaces.
IP.
Hasbro?
I'm 49 years
Peppa
old.
Pig?
I am 49 years old, and I
Monopoly, I guess.
still will sing "You've Got the Touch" in my head. I was just watching the scene where Optimus Prime charges Autobot
I
City from 1985 this week.
Yeah.
I show that scene to
G.I.
kids.
Joe? Come on, man.
You
It's
know,
just
when you
none of
talk
those
to
games
Land,
have ever,
Land
like,
could talk
really
for
connected.
just an hour on his favorite G.I. Joe episodes, and it's
Look, man,
mind-bendingly entertaining.
so when I was at Wizards and I started out, in 2000, like there's a Xena game, and all they can think about are all the different IPs. So we're talking about Transformers and GI Joe, and I think we even made a GI Joe game at some point. We certainly made a Transformers game at some point. Like I've spent a fair amount of time around the IP universe, and I'm like, I don't know that Hasbro's in the strongest position. Like they've had some good luck with Magic and this IP stuff, Monopoly Go, and all that, but like it is like their position is more and more like trying to license things that are going to decay in
So,
value, right?
so I had this long extended text fight with Zach about this later, right? Which was,
Mhm.
I don't care about Universes Beyond from the perspective of if Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are on the cards. I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is an
Couple
IP I was
IPs.
in love with in 1987,
Yeah. You'll
right?
eat a lot
Like
of pizza while you
grade
yeah.
grade school version of me was making my own fan comics of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus the Hulk, and the kids in my class were like, Leonardo's samurai sword couldn't cut the Hulk's skin. Like, you
If
can't
you
do that, man. Like, and I'm like, oh
What
no,
would
he
your
is.
Ninja Turtle name and personality be? This is something that came up yesterday. For me, I was talking to my daughters, and I was like, "Oh, would I be like Kandinsky or Clay or something like that?" Try to like come up with a new artist, like an artist that applies for you. Do you have any thoughts on who that would be
Oh,
that's
I
not one
was
of the core
limiting
four?
myself to the original four. I don't know.
No, you have to go beyond. In fact, those are already claimed. You have to
I
figure
don't
out
know.
which.
I think Surratt, man. Like,
Oh, I
I
love
create my
Surratt.
own reality. Like, and
Surratt
all
Duck.
around me, people create a reality by combining the things that they perceive, and that like I kind of have this fundamental belief that like all the meaning that we have in our lives we make for ourselves, right? That like, you can't like sit around waiting for someone to make value for you, so I'm Surratt, I guess. Um,
I have a
anyway,
No, go
so
ahead.
my thought on Universes Beyond is like it's just a trick. Like when they said, Modern Horizons 2 was the best selling set. Well, now it's Lord of the Rings. And I was like, well, actually examine what that means. They sold the same amount in a shorter period of time. I don't know if it means it actually sold more because Modern Horizons 2 remained to be in print for a long time. And they're like, okay, well, we have breakthrough sales numbers. And I keep quoting these breakthrough sales numbers, but they're just quoting revenue numbers. And if you actually like look like one layer lower, it's like, okay, you understand that $1.2 billion is less than 800 million if you paid 600 million
Yeah.
in licensing fees, right? Like, and that like there are much bigger companies than Hasbro who have gotten into financial trouble because they don't understand their customer acquisition costs. And
Mhm.
they're making these bets on customer acquisition that I think are not founded in logic or
Well, let's talk
facts.
about it a little bit. So you have like I talked to Randy last week,
Yeah.
Randy Bueller, and he was saying this was bringing a lot of people from those IPs into the game, which creates an opportunity for Wizards if they can figure out how to retain those players. Can they do it, right? And like, what's that design path? What do you need to do to retain
So,
those audiences?
okay.
Can
So
you? Yeah,
I have kids who did a lot of Lego and
mhm.
they specifically did a lot of Star Wars Lego. And they did some Ninjago actually, which is a Lego owned,
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
little Lego owned IP. But I did some research on this, right? For the most part, there are like a couple of different paths of people who come in so the model is Lego sucks, right? Lego's about to go out of business, it's horrible, blah blah blah. They do the first Star Wars branded thing, a couple years later they're an X point Y billion-dollar company. But if you look at the path, Star Wars Lego customers are for the most part Star Wars Lego customers. And their model is to get them to buy increasingly expensive, like ultra high-end, like Darth Vader helmets, right? That you build
Mhm,
together. And a big chunk of the people who are being targeted by this ascension path are adults. Okay.
mhm.
If you're gonna come in as a kid and you're just like and you're a branded licensee buyer, it's probably Harry Potter, right? I don't know what the average Magic player's purchase path is. I have a lot of opinions about stuff and like about math on this, right? But
Mhm.
um, if they're just gonna buy more Harry Potter IP and they're gonna age out, right? Like that wasn't a great Like you can't pretend that like you socket that person in a fungible way and they're the same as me, right? Like I think that you should try to get me, right? Like that I'm the ideal customer in my opinion, right?
Okay, okay. You
Whose
might be.
lifetime retention is better than mine, Brian Schneider? I
I
I buy thousands of dollars of Magic cards every year. Okay.
you're pretty good at that, yeah.
Okay. I'm a very good value for them, right? And so, like, I was having this, I'm putting this in air quotes. We're talking about having intellectual discussions with your friends. And I'm like, why would you possibly trade me? I take the same amount of seat in an LGS as a commander player. Okay. And this is
Mhm.
before Universes Beyond. This is just fire design. This is just catering for commander. And you read like Gavin Verhey's like treatise before he came to Wizards. It's just like, God, thank God I met Mike Flores. He put me on this path that maybe like I'm like, oh, that was a really nice thing to say, Gavin. Um, uh, but, like, why would you and, obviously, Gavin's been ascendant because of his contribution to the Commander the Commander products, right? But, like, why would you possibly trade me or somebody like me for a player who needs to own 1 copy of a card and maybe owns 2 to 5 decks? I this is, like, my deck workshop over here, and I have dozens of decks, like, underneath my bed, right?
Mhm.
Like, dozens that I've been operating. I probably have like 20 active decks right now. I'm obsessive about like foreign printings, flashy art, right? Like stuff like that. And like I own 16 wooded foothills, like stuff like that. I own like at least 12 windswept heaths and like different printings. I just don't want to move them from deck to deck. Why
Mhm.
would you
I'm
trade
the same
me?
way, yeah.
What?
I'm the same way about, pretty much everything. Like, my guitar setup, you would be like you would totally get. You're like, you have, 4 different versions of the same kind of pedal just because you have to have it on the different
It's
boards, and
so
you need
annoying.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
playing a singleton format on Saturday, and it's just pained me to move a Wooded Foothills out of a deck to put into another deck, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm collecting these white bordered Arabian Nights mountains. They're from like anthologies, the anthology set from like 1998 or something, but they have
Mhm.
like the Arabian Nights print, but in white border. So like now I'm in this thing, like if I'm playing fetch land formats, I'm going to fetch for like flashy white bordered lands, and that's like super posh, right? Why would you possibly trade me for somebody who owns 1 copy of a card? Like, me, I own 4 copies of a card, right? Or I own like 20 Gaia's Cradles, okay? Like, why would you willingly do this, right? Like, we have twice as many players now. Twice as many players, you say. What is the LTV on that player compared to not you don't have to be actually me. There's nobody like me. Like,
Yeah,
Raph
yeah.
Levy maybe is like me. But there's not a lot, right? Like, but why would you trade someone with remotely my profile for somebody who owns 1 copy of a card, right? No matter how flashy their Mox Opal is, right? Like it it is bad math, right? And they're like, "We have twice as many." You need like 10 times as many to stay even on
I wanna
revenue.
see this infographic. I feel like you have, like, great meme generation opportunity here where you have one like Flores worth this much in dollar value per year, and then you have, like, all the little, like, stick men of, like, the different IPs that, like, give you this net value in, like, a short term. You have, like, a great story to tell there visually.
So, I mean, the
Yeah.
other thing is like who knows what the Universes Beyond licensing fees are gonna be this past year. It was like 2 years ago, $600 million. That was before Final Fantasy. They're not going down. That was
Yeah.
with, like, Walking Dead and Doctor Who. Like, you're switching over to, like, Marvel superheroes. It's like, these are gonna get more expensive, not less expensive, and so, like, you're quoting these revenue numbers, like, "Oh, you'll see, the numbers keep going up," like but I think Randy makes a good point. They have to figure out how to retain them. Magic is an incredibly complicated game, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I I I have a cousin who's she's relatively close to me. She was super into Avatar when I was super into Mistborn, right? And like I never heard of Avatar. Even I probably should. My kids were the wrong age, right? I was an adult. My kids were too young to have watched Nickelodeon at the time. And I asked her, "Well, you want to get into Avatar?" And it turns out Avatar is great. It's great gameplay. She has no interest, right? Like, and
Mhm.
she's a gamer, right? Like, she's like she owns all these different versions of the Switch, and so she's Magic's too complicated. I'm like, would you buy it just for the art? My sister goes to all the Doctor Who conventions, right? And she's a gamer, right? There's no interest in this sort of thing. I think like from one standpoint, you have entrenched incumbent Magic players who are stuck playing with these IPs. And from the other standpoint, you have some amount of people coming in. And I don't like you just have to divide what the incremental number of people coming in is by the licensing fee and decide if that number is higher or lower than the lifetime value of an incremental Magic player. It can't possibly be higher than the lifetime value of an incumbent Magic player. That's not a real equation. That's hope, right?
Mhm.
So, like I just don't know if people have. I mean, clearly smart people have thought about some of these things, and they're thinking about ways to grow Magic. These aren't the ways I would do it, right? And I I'm very particular. I mean, I probably from some standpoint I'm an old man shaking my fist at the clouds, right? But I have a lot. I play paper Magic like 3 times a week right now. I'm 49
Mhm.
years old, right? Like play more paper Magic than I did when I was in law school. Played a lot when I was in law school.
I mean, that sounds
so
really boring if you didn't, right?
so but like I talked to players at the LGS. I'm like, this is I don't know. I want Magic to thrive. I want people to continue to do well. I want to do stuff that I enjoy. Oh, and the other here's the thing that super annoys me. How can you possibly quote revenue numbers when you're passing incremental costs onto the consumer? If the packs cost the same amount of money, that'd be one thing. But the universes beyond packs are all like more than $1 more expensive than the other packs. So
Mm.
you're just like, oh, should we just discount the revenue number that you just quoted by like 25%? Because that's actually what the fair apples to apples comparison is. Like anything other than that, you're just trying hate to say you're just deliberately deceiving people, right? Like you have like a shadow incremental revenue number, and you're just ignoring the fact that there was hundreds of millions of dollars in incremental costs. You're saying we made a billion X this year. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, like I mean, like what was your bottom line? You could, anybody who's listening to this can ask ChatGPT. I had Patrick Chapin do it. He was sitting right over there. And I said,
Mhm.
"You just ask ChatGPT," and it's just like record margin compression. What? Like,
Yeah,
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 like
yeah.
it's like the numbers are public because they're a publicly traded company. You just
Yeah,
screw a little bit.
so I worked, at Warner in this game strategy group that was essentially evaluating all the businesses and trying to figure out how to make the right investments, and they ended up investing in Hogwarts Legacy and selling off Golf Clash and all these different things. And so I studied the Lego business, like, very closely, and there was a window, like, the Lego games business is one of the most profitable of all time. It's not the most profitable, but it's, like, more than you would realize. But the IP strength and the value from it dips over time, and so, like, you end up like, in Hasbro shoes, it'll be making Transformer and GI Joe stuff in, like, 3 years because the value doesn't stay there. Um,
Well, are you talking
and,
about like
you know and
Lego Star Wars video game? Like
yeah,
those? First of all, those were
exactly.
amazing games. Like so
Yeah, great
good,
studio. Yep.
right? Like, um, I I don't have an opinion about that, right? Like, I just remember playing those games with my kids when they were small, and, like, I mean, they must still hold up. Like, the graphics are beautiful, stories
Yeah,
are
the Star
fantastic.
Wars Skywalker saga was, like, incredibly well selling. It's just that, like, to give 30% or some percentage of the IP, like, it's not worth it for you to do that anymore. Like, the games industry can't support it well enough. So, if Magic, stays materially strong, they can do this for a while, but it's unlikely to, like, either long-term play.
My other thing that I mean, just as, like, a very normative reaction is I don't like the fact that when somebody touts, I'm putting this in air quotes, the success of Universes Beyond from a revenue standpoint, almost necessarily, they're just, like, sweeping under the rug the organic growth of digital, right?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, didn't Magic Arena's proliferation over the pandemic wasn't that just responsible for 50% of the growth of Magic during that time period, and we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen? Like like, uh, people weren't leaving the house, that's where all the Magic consumption was going on, like, and
Mhm.
those players stuck, but we just pretend that they don't exist because we're trying to be like, "Oh, no, we're doing these cool
Yeah,
licenses."
I would guess it's not I guess I would say it's not going to be the eternal state of things. but it is something that like the community is going to have to endure for years before it ships.
I don't know what the consequences are. I don't know that it matters that much. It doesn't bother me to like dude,
There's
an
so many
airbender
interesting
is
questions about it.
if somebody told you, okay, well, we're just gonna have like I think of like a core from Tempest Block, right? Like a core isn't that different from like an airbender, right? They look kind of the
Hmm.
same. They're wearing like flowing white things and they have no hair and they maybe have tattoos. Like I can't look at this and be like, oh, I hate this. It's fine to me. I didn't know that slivers didn't have arms until Taya told me they didn't. They weren't supposed to have arms. So the aesthetics doesn't bother me. The thing that bothers me is I don't think this is a great business strategy. And
You want to see the game succeed.
there is a list my arm long of companies who got their customer acquisition numbers out of control. Investors got rabid because they see revenue numbers go up and up because that's what you told them to look at. And then they're all of a sudden they're like, oops, my bad. you know,
What's your favorite Magic epoch? Your favorite time in Magic?
what if I
In terms
told
of
you
the,
it was Ravnica City of Guilds?
I would just be proud of you for saying Ravnica City of Guilds with the whole like war. The whole it's the only set that has a ridiculous name.
That was really good. That was one of only 2 times in my entire life that I got an article rejected.
Really? Why was it rejected?
Um,
I'm not sure why.
I'm gonna cough. Sorry. Scott Johns was my editor at magicthegathering.com,
Yeah.
and I was given the card Lightning Helix to do as a preview. And I
Mhm.
had not seen any cards from Ravnica City of Guilds, only Lightning Helix. I believe, but between me getting assigned Lightning Helix and my article coming out, the card Temple Garden was spoiled, which is
Yeah,
a forest plains that comes into play tap unless you pay 2.
it's a good one.
And my original review, like preview of Lightning Helix was like a scathing, this is unbridled power creep. This is going to ruin everybody's lives. Sort of like this card is too good. And
Mhm.
Scott came back. He's like, we pay you to sell packs of cards. We
He's not
need you to
wrong.
be more positive about
He's not
this.
wrong. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, the $16,000 Lightning Helix happened at the Pro Tour that I was a commentator of, a few months later. Um, but that was one of I loved it. And I think if it were up to me, and I don't know if this is a sustainable way to run WotC, like I've never tried to run WotC,
Mhm.
everything would be Ravnica City of Guilds. And your design and development philosophy at the time was, in my opinion, the correct design and development philosophy. So for those who don't know, um, there are multiple ways to design and develop magic sets. Well, design magic sets, don't develop them anymore, really. Right?
Yeah, right.
To
That's true.
design magic sets. Um, there are multiple ways to do it, and um, then there's Ravnica City of Guilds, and so there's this idea about deck tiers, right, and card tiers, and there's like tier 1, and
Mhm,
tell me where I go wrong on this because this is etched into my memory, but you're the one who was actually the head of development at the time.
mhm.
Um, your design and development philosophy at the time was there's no tier 1, that like everything
Yeah,
is good, nothing is too good.
that's right.
Uh, and the design space as a deck designer was unbelievable. And so for me, that was among my most productive times as a deck designer. Like I was designing like wild stuff, right? Like I was putting Boros Garrison, is that the name of the bounce thing?
Yeah, the
Into
red white.
like just straight red white decks. It was like winning grand people. Originally people were calling it budget Boros and making fun of me because like people would always watch me play Magic Online. Aaron watched me every night, like whatever I was doing on Magic Online, right? We were just like, oh, what is this budget for us? Just going to win Grand Prix and stuff. And we just made so many cool different decks. And like at every and we would figure out interesting paradigms. Like, the deck that I designed that Osa Blabadawich, he went undefeated in Honolulu and made top 8, lost to Mark Herberholtz. Mark's on the way to Mark's victory there.
Mhm.
Like our design paradigm was we don't ever have a second color pip. And like So like we had a multicolor deck, but we had no second color pip. And like if you don't know that going in, like it might not be apparent to you, but like the amount of consistency that we built into a deck by like levering down our our card power in relation to how many color pips were in the cards is like tremendous. Andrew Cuneo was on that team. And I know you have a long standing relationship with Andrew, who's a genius
He's a
of
good
Magic.
fellow, yeah.
Yeah. So um, like we just didn't have a second color pip. So like other people had cards like Hinder. We only had like Mana Leak and Remand, but like we could always cast our cards. Uh and our cards weren't that much worse because this was the era of tier 2 cards, not tier 1 cards. So like our cards weren't that much worse. But so like we might not have gone the hardest, but we got the most frequency out of our cards because we're just a little bit more consistent than everybody else. And you could make a decision like that, right? Like
Mm, yeah.
versus in the post fire, like there's so many things I don't like. I don't like fire design. I don't like the shift to like commander design. I don't like there's no development team. I don't like I don't like the constant bans, like in that era,
Very different psychology.
like there was no bans. Like what was the best card in that era? Maloku the Clouded Mirror? Like you look at Maloku, you're
Yeah.
just like,
The top, yeah, I mean, top was annoying, but not breaking the
was it
game, just disruptive
it
under the
wasn't even
pacing.
card advantage. It's
No,
just
that's true.
I think that there is a profile file of cards that's just like if you're better than your opponent, you win 75% of the time. I like that profile of cards that Sensei's Dividing Top is in, and not everybody likes that, right?
Yeah, we wanted to make tournament play as good as possible. So I do feel like in like that Champions, Ravnica, Time Spiral period, like limited was generally good in all three, and then constructed was good in all three. And I think that if that's your goal, I think we did it. The question is that the right goal, right?
No, we got John Finkel back. John Finkel
Yeah.
hadn't played professional Magic in like 10 years, right? We got John Finkel back. He played in the Ravnica Team Pro Tour, and then we started Finkel Draft, and he became a rabid drafter, and then won the next Pro Tour, and he hadn't played Magic in 10 years. Like, think about that, Brian Schneider. That
It's a good,
era
that's a win I hadn't
got
anticipated.
John Finkel back. First of all, I was there. This is a story. I'd written Decade, right? And
Mhm.
so
Which I've read.
and so we'd sold books, and people were like, wow, we could sell books. BDM was like, go write another book. I'm like, I don't know if I have another book yet. And he's just like, just talk to John. We'll just write down whatever John says. John is incredibly bad at explaining how to be the best Magic player on earth.
The
Believe
book
me,
about John is pretty good, right?
I
Magic.
have spent
Magic. Yeah.
I have spent my career trying to write down John Finkel's brain for other people to download, and I think I'm the best at it, and I'm not good enough. Okay. So I would just go to John's house every day, and then I had a recorder, like a recorder, like not an iPhone. We didn't have an iPhone, but I had a recorder. So like John would just say things, and I'm just write them down, right? But that's where we got things like there's like only two really good John Finkel quotes ever, and one of them was yeah, I'm like, what is the definition of the right place? Well, between two plays, like when all other things are held equal and the outcomes are similar, typically the one that retains the greatest number of options is preferred. It's like something like that, right? Like which is very weaselly, right? But anyway, so at some point John is just like, let's just play Magic. So I had a God MTGO account. So I'm like, I'd log into MTGO. I don't want to watch you play MTGO. This is boring. So I was qualified for the Ravnica Team Pro Tour at the time. So I just would bring decks and we just start to play. And then it got out. And people were like, I heard you're going to John Finkel's house and playing Ravnica Block Constructed every night. And I'm like, I am in fact going to John Finkel's house to play Ravnica Block Constructed every night. But the purpose of this was for me to write a book, right? But then everyone just started because we were all it was teams, so like we were all like if you were good enough, you just bring your friends, three really relatively good players to easily win a qualifier, right? So then everyone is at John Finkel's house playing Ravnica Constructed, and John was
That's
just like,
pretty awesome.
"I'm going to use my Hall of Fame invite to bring the OMS brothers," right? And so like,
Nice.
so he had to call Aaron and I think Randy at the time, and he's just like,
Mhm.
I have a Hall of Fame invite, but this is a Team Pro Tour. can I bring teammates? And they're like, yeah. And I guess you're John Finkel. Like, and there were no other Hall of Famers. There was only like 5 at that time, right? I don't even think Ty
Mhm.
was in the Hall of Fame yet. So,
Wow.
so he's like, all right, so I'm gonna bring the office brother. So it was just it was just a utopian time, Brian Schneider. Everyone was at John Finkel's house playing Ravnica Block Constructed every night. And then when the Pro Tour was over, John had the bug. He literally won the next Pro Tour. He won Pro Tour Kuala Lumpur. But he just didn't want to stop. And so Finkel Draft started, and Worth Walpert, who was working at WotC at the time, did like some kind of crazy deal with Pete Hoffling at Star City and dropped a pallet of Ravnica Block at John's house, like
Ooh.
150 boxes or something like of the set. Like, what happens if we just give all this product to John Finkel? And the answer is
He takes over the world.
he created like one man created a renaissance of American Magic, right? Because like coming out of that culture, like you have like Tom Martell won a Pro Tour within 2 years. Jamie Park was back in the top 8 of Worlds. Those players would never have picked up a professional Magic card if we had not recreated that culture. And in fact, I would say it was singularly probably responsible for the resuscitation of Huey Jensen, who is now at WotC. And I remember I was having this is, when people had like, let's say, lively discussions on Facebook. And people were like putting their Hall of Fame ballots up. And Steve Sadin said, well, I'm going to vote for, I can't remember who he said he was going to vote for instead of Huey. And I said, why would you do that? Huey has a better resume. He's like, well, he'll use it. And I said, it is not up to you to decide who's going to use it. And then I wrote this like basically impassioned thing. Like I just said, I'm like, what if we had some kind of idiotic he'll use it idea like you just said and applied it to these people who had not played professional Magic in 10 years. By the way, those are the people who you all hang out with now, and they're all in Pro Tour top 8s because we created a context by which they had an incentive to play, and they played, and they showed people how good they are. And John, the post Hall of Fame John Finkel is a Hall of Fame Magic player. Like,
yeah.
That's insane. He would not have picked up a Magic card again. I'm pretty sure, Brian Schneider, if not for Ravnica, right? If not for this wonderful piece of gaming art that you helped to create. And that was responsible for Jamie Park. It was responsible for Tom Martell. It was responsible for Huey Jensen. By extension, it was probably responsible for the Peach Garden Oath, right? Like it was like what came out of that was so beautiful, and it was such a great. And for me, right, like I said, I made a lot of money during this era, right? And
Constructed mattered a lot. Yeah,
I had a lot of things to say because there was a lot of things you could do. Today, like, which 3 cards am I going to swap out of the blue-red deck that they made in Seattle for me, right? Like these cards are pretty like, oh, these cards are a lot better than these other cards. And half the time they get banned within 6 months is a very different experience than
it must be weird to invest in the cards, right? Like
that's the other thing,
your trust has to go to a road.
I don't play a lot of contemporary standard, and modern used to be my favorite format actually. Up until about 20. Before the pandemic, maybe around 2019, I was playing a lot of modern, like high-end modern tournaments. But like, the straight to modern printings destroyed the mandate of modern as a format, in my opinion. Right. And so I had to try really hard to win. And at some point somebody said to me, everybody else is getting these straight to modern printing cards, and you're just trying to win with the same cards that you had in 2017. Like at some point, your good luck's going to run out. And I was just like, yeah, like maybe it's just not worth it anymore. And there's a nihilistic point of view. You could take, well, you just decided not to get with the times. If you want to get with the times to play standard, like that's the point of standard, right? Like that's not the point of modern, right? Like it's not the point of just having the more expensive standard, right? Like that doesn't make sense to me, right? Like this was supposed to be a showcase of a palette of history, like, and then overlapping history, like not, we just have different incredibly expensive secondary market cards that were printed in the last 12 months and there's so many the bannings are so embarrassing. Like
Yeah,
it's
I think one thing that I have a question about is, do you think Wizards is concerned that the world is going to go to a place where it becomes more of a game system that others design for instead of like Wizards drives all the value, right? Because the way they're behaving seems like, hey, let's get the value out of the system before the rules of the game change. And I could be wrong, but like it would be interesting to see, us, for example, just be like, hey, let's design the set we want. And let people play with that to sort of create a community around a certain type of
I
gameplay.
I
Like,
do you know anything about pre-modern? I think you probably like it.
no, no, I don't.
So
I
I
have, yeah.
like 40, 50, 70% of the Magic I play is just pre-modern now, right? So,
Mhm.
um, I was doing an audit of my Magic cards coming out of the pandemic. It was like 2021, 2022, and I was like I had decks that were still together, and I have, like, some pretty flashy cards from back in the day, right? So I was posting things on social media, and I posted, I had my complete Napster deck that John actually played in an event, right?
He
What
won, right?
Yeah, no, he physically played I
Oh, okay.
for a promotional event, I physically assembled this deck and John played it, okay?
Mhm.
And he has his own well, I mean, they're my cards, but in a they're in like a binder in John's house, right? There's a famous story of me at US Nationals 2000 going, "Oh, John, can I have my Japanese Rishinon ports back?" And he's just like, "I don't have your Japanese Rishinon ports." And I'm like, "You do. You played him to win the US National Championship last year. Can I have him back?" And then you won the World Championship with him, by the way. Can I have him back? It's like, "I don't have him." I open his binder and there's the first page is just a set of Japanese Rishinon.
How
And
could you not see these, John?
I'm like, "They're right here, John." He's like, "I need them for my Fires deck tomorrow." I borrow them tomorrow. I'm like, "Of course you can." I still have not gotten those Rishinon ports back. But anyway, um, but I had assembled a second. John played it in a promotional event, right? So I posted a deck pick of this. This is kind of when I started making deck picks. And Brian Kowal said, he's like, "Well, you should just frame this deck." And I'm like, "Well, what if I need the Rishinon
It's a cool idea.
ports? I don't have another set because my other set's in John Finkel's house." Right? So he said, "Well, when are you ever going to need these cards except if you play pre-modern?" And I said, "What's pre-modern?" And he sent me a flyer, and there was this thing called LobsterCon that was happening in Boston a few months later. And I'm like, "Oh, I hadn't done anything in 2 years because of the pandemic, so I said, I'll go to this." Anyway, pre-modern is a format that's played with sets between I think fourth edition and Scourge. So
Oh, okay, that's
so
cool.
it's after old school. So the cutoff is at old school, and then it's
Mhm.
between old school and modern, basically. So like the first modern set I want to say is Mirrodin. So it's right before Mirrodin. It goes up through Onslaught Block. And it is, from a gameplay standpoint, the best. It is really interesting. I think like what you would imagine would be the iconic decks of Magic are they're just a little amped up, right? So,
Mhm.
you know, there was never Dave Price never sleeved up a red deck that was as good as a pre-modern red deck, right? So
Sure, sure.
there's no red deck that has all the fetch lands for Grim Lavamancer and Fire Blast and Lightning, right? Like
Ooh, I
you might have
forgot
had
that guy.
Lightning Bolt, but you didn't have Fire Blast also, right? You didn't have fetch lands, you didn't have Barbarian Ring, you might have had Jackal Pup, you didn't
I
have
like
all
all
of them
these
at the same.
cards.
But
I
it's
had
just like
forgotten all of this stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I remember these."
yeah, but it's like it's the red deck, right? But it's not too
Mhm.
good. It's on a relative basis, it is a good deck. It's probably the most popular deck. But when the first time you play it, you pick it up and you're like, this is how Magic should
Where
be played."
where is David Price?
I think he's here. It's weird.
Is
I
he? Yeah, I
walked
don't
into a
know.
business meeting that he was in at one point, like, which was kind of a while ago, but I think he's
Oh,
here.
okay. Okay.
Um, but and Dave works at a same company with a bunch of good friends of mine, but I haven't
Cool.
seen him physically in quite a while.
He's like on the, like we talked about Pete Lyher on the Albert Burkhead call. You're like, "I have no idea." Mark Justice? No idea. David Price? Haven't talked to
I'm
him.
pretty sure he's here.
He used to live with Bakula like 20
He
years
used to
ago,
live with
like
Tony Sai, and I was
yeah,
Tony
okay.
Sai's best man.
Oh,
And so
nice, nice.
I would see Dave, like, at the computer when I would visit Tony's house sometimes, but
Yes, I would so I used to visit Piccola to practice for tournaments, And the deck that Lan played and finished top 16 with, the Tinker deck, we made at their house. But like Tony and Dave were like playing WoW or EverQuest
Oh,
or
no. I'm
something.
talking about like
Yeah.
in like the more
Now.
modern era. Like I already am an adult living in New York. If David, okay, so, but
Okay.
I think he's here. I haven't seen him in a while.
Is he real? Like he is
He's
like a
real.
Sasquatch. There's these shadow figures that are
Um.
no longer. Did we see them?
So.
Continue though.
It's really good, and so that's mostly what I play. I'm gonna play that tonight. So I play that, and I play Pauper. So I play Paper Pauper, and I play Paper Pre-Modern primarily, and then online I play Standard on Arena. So I actually play quite a bit of Magic still, including Contemporary Standard, but I don't collect Contemporary Magic cards unless you really twist my arm. So I. But I have never been such a good consumer of secondary market Magic cards as I am right this second. Right, like
That's cool.
um, yeah. So I don't know. I buy a lot of reserve list cards.
There was a guy I worked with, and he just kept buying all of them. He was clearly like a very smart investor. He
No,
put in
no,
all
no.
these
I'm a buy
formats.
high, sell never. What are you thinking?
No, no. I mean, they keep going up. You're doing just fine. You're
Well, I'm not. So I went through my when I was going through my collection, I found a set of 4 beta mana vaults, which I just didn't know I owned.
it's a beautiful thing.
At the time, they were worth about $10,000 each. My daughter looked at it, she's like, "Well, that's like a year at Harvard." Like, they're only worth like 2,500 each now. So like,
Mm,
so some ultra high end stuff has gone down, but
that's
and I'm like,
sad.
so I said to BDM, I'm like, first of all, I don't play any formats where Mana Vault's even legal, and I'm like, I certainly don't need to own 4. If I find even a single revised Mana Vault, I'll sell all of these. And I found 7 fourth edition Mana Vaults. I'm like, I did not find a single revised Mana Vault. I guess I can't sell these, right? Because I am a buy high, sell never. But I probably paid nothing for them, and they're just in my collection. Anyway, so I played pre-modern,
Mhm.
and I'm really embedded in that community, and that's a really, really wonderful community that has grown like crazy. Like, again, you probably don't keep up with Magic. The pre-modern is like a fake format. One guy
Mhm.
named Martin Berlin made it in around 2012, and it kind of grew over the pandemic, where people who had old bordered cards mostly played over webcam to any level of socialization when they couldn't leave the house, right?
Mhm.
And like,
Mhm.
it's a community that shared the love of pre-fire design Magic cards, old boarded Magic cards and stuff. But it became an official format on Magic Online just last quarter, and it is absolutely exploded. So if anyone's ever played pre-modern who has any kind of conception of how Magic can be played, uh, the the reaction is kind of at consensus. Like, you just look at streamers, they're like, "This is just the best Magic you can play."
Yeah, I mean, it
Uh,
was really fun to play in that time period, right? Like, it was interesting. I talked to Mike Elliott, who did a lot of the design on Mirage, Tempest, and Urza's Flock, and it's like that's when we grow up and like really grew to love the game, right?
uh, I I don't know when I grew to love it. I think I loved it. I loved it from the first moment, and I'm like Sam
Love
Black
at first sight. It's
and
real.
Tom Martell said this about me. They're like, they were characterizing it as like WotC lost me, right? Like, I don't like I do play in some contemporary events. I won a big standard event and I won a big Norman draft event 2 weeks ago, like the New York City Championship.
Nice.
I'm a
Very
million
cool.
old, right? But like, they really had to twist my arm to play standard, Um, and they're like, how bad did they have to screw up in Seattle to lose Mike, right? Like, because I used to, this is my big brag point, Brian Schneider, was like, I would show up to, the RC or the Pro Tour or whatever. I'm like, I've still got the record. Like, if you're gonna beat the record, you have to be Ben Bleiweiss. You had to have won one before me, right? Like,
Mhm.
Kai
Mhm.
was like, no one will ever beat Mike's record, right? Like you literally have to be Ben Bleiweiss. You need to have won a qualifier before November of 1996 and be able to win a qualifier in like 2026, right? So every time I show up, I'm like, just renewed the record, right? Like, here's my stretch. But
Is
I
there
don't
a
know.
Hall of Fame in that place? I went to my kids play indoor soccer, and there's a school that has a Hall of Fame, but there's only for wrestling,
Yeah.
but there's only 2 people in it. And it's kind of set. I just want to add big people to it. And I'd be happy to add you. Like
Yeah.
they wouldn't know what to do. They'd be like, Mike
Yeah. But
Flores.
for
Yes, go
me,
ahead.
it's just like it was a long time as a point of pride, right? But I just stopped playing in contemporary like RCQ, PTQ type stuff. And I guess the bigger thing was I'm really serious about these other formats that I like. And I just don't have time in my life to like travel around to the equivalent of every Grand Prix like 4 times a
Insane.
month or whatever. Like it's just not going to happen. I don't know how Ely Cassis does it. Like there are guys who are our age who are like who are I probably got on the Pro Tour way after you or I did, who are our age, right? Like Jim Davis is like almost 10 years younger than I am, and like he is a professional Magic player in every way, shape, and form, and it's wonderful to see. And I do not have that in me to try to grind the contemporary formats in a serious way while trying to operate other aspects of my life.
Yeah, you have a family. You have
My kids not
businesses,
I
right?
do. I mean, my kids are grown, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
like I mean, I wonderfully got to spend some time with my daughter this week. We did a
Do they play
video.
Magic with you? No, but
No.
continue.
Uh, Oris Levinovich tells this hilarious story where I walked in on Bella, that's my daughter. And I took a picture of her. She's playing Magic Arena with one hand, playing a mobile game with the other hand, and has like a
Ugh.
latte, right? And I'm like, and she has like some insane Mythic Rare in play. And I didn't have an Arena account at this point. I used to play Magic online because Watsy nicely gave me a God account, and Arena was like this novel thing, right? I'm like, oh, and who knows if this will last, right? So she's literally playing Arena. She has some insane Mythic Rare in play. She's playing a mobile game in the other hand while drinking a latte. And I walk in to take a picture of her, and she's just like, "This is easy." And I'm like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." So and then I asked her, "What does she like?" And she told me what she likes. So I just bought like a second set of like Boros dual lands and a second set of Is It dual lands. And I thought we were gonna go and play F&M together every week and everything. She was like, "Bro, I'm not doing that nerd stuff with you." I guess I like Is It. I guess I like Boros, but like not enough to actually want to play it and like in tournaments. And she said to me she didn't think she could ever get out from under my shadow. And
Ooh,
and she's just
wow.
like, I don't even want to try. Right. Like every interaction I ever have, but she's also a pretty girl, like every interaction I'm ever going to have at a Magic tournament is going to be colored by these two things. And one of them is especially at the time, this was 10 plus years ago when I was more famous than I am today, is that my father is one of the most famous Magic players in the world, right? Like, and was not interested. That was one thing. And then the other thing
Mhm.
was, my son, was playing I made him a mono red deck. I made my kids decks to just beat up the other kids on the bus, right?
I mean, that's only it's your job.
Yeah, so they beat the crap out of the other kids on the bus, right? And so it was always a cool dad because I would win all these F&M packs and I'd never open them, right? And so like if my
Mhm.
kid had to go to like a birthday party, I'd be like, how many packs is this kid worth? And I just like, yeah, I'm like, pick, just take however many packs you want. And then sometimes the kid would open the packs and it'd be like a planeswalker inside. This is the best gift. Your dad is the best. You're the best gift. It was great and it was free, right? Because I had already won these packs and like I have boxes and boxes of unopened products from, over the years. Uh,
Mhm.
anyway, so my son was playing a red deck and, um, I was playing like maybe either I or my daughter was playing a mono black deck that had some effect like a Tendrils of Corruption or a Corrupt, which is like gain life equal to the number of swamps you have in play while
Mhm.
dealing damage to them or their creature. And he got hit. Look, he was playing a damage dealing deck and he or his creature got hit one time with a thing that was basically like killed his thing or he took damage and the other person gained like 6 life and he was like, "This game is bullshit. I'm never playing again." That was it for his Magic career. And I'm like, "No, no, you can keep doing this." He's just like, "No, no. You think I can't count?" And he was just never interested in the strategic nuance of the game. One time he had mountains in play and somebody corrupted him or tendrils his creature and
Oh,
he was
yeah.
done with Magic the Gathering. But,
It's life's
he's
not fair.
really good soccer player and a great basketball player. And, now we play mahjong. So he got super into mahjong, playing with his aunties over the summer, and loves playing mahjong now. And so like that's a game we play.
Yeah, I don't think my kids will play Magic. We've tried. They appreciate it. I'm gonna try again because I bought the Lore When Eclipse box because my daughter's gonna come with me to MagicCon, and I played with it against dads from their school the other night, and like I haven't played because I have two young children. I haven't played in like a decade for real. Uh, but I was still quite vampiric. I was like, oh, I will bite into your necks. It felt, it definitely, it is a weirdness where, did you ever play casually at all? Like Magic? Because when
But
I
what?
started casually, like you didn't care about winning. You were just like, hey, I'm going to have fun with this.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
I
See, for
did
me,
play like 20-person group games, but I still wanted to win. And
yeah. Yeah.
I never played
I,
in any. So I will tell you this. I played so many games with my daughter over time. And the best board game I've ever played is Betrayal at House on the Hill, which I think is on Steam.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I, pl- I play tested that when they were making it in house.
yeah. So we played Betrayal Legacy, and I own like a bunch of the Betrayal. Well, she owns because I bought them as gifts for her.
That's a
Like
great
there's like
game.
a Baldur's Gate version and stuff like that. And I came to understand that I was having a better experience if I didn't care if I won or not. But that's a board game and a storytelling game, and like you make decisions that have dramatic impacts on like the way the story is told, and like whether you win or not is kind of perpendicular to how good the story is. But I very much came to understand that it didn't matter if I won or not, and that like I got to spend time with my daughter, which was the thing that was great. But this week, we were playing. I can't remember the name of it. It's like an AI game. It's not. It's like it's a game about AIs, right? It's like
Okay.
androids and stuff about, and takes place in Detroit, and it's I don't know what the name of it is, but it's really good. We play immersive games like Last of Us 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, and so like um, basically she does all the mechanical stuff and I do all the strategy. And like if there's bookkeeping, like I think one of our favorite ones is Persona 5 Royal. She's
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
into the bookkeeping and I'm like, I'll take a nap during the bookkeeping portions, but I'm like
That's
really good at
ideal.
strategy, right? And I'm like, oh, we should sneak here, or we should use this god, or we should, and so we play those games together. And less now, my daughter's gonna go to medical school next year, right? So
Congratulations.
yeah,
That's
so
pretty incredible.
I am, yeah. So it's funny if people go, "Oh, you have a family good over." My kids are grown. It's not the same thing. My son is my son is busy doing like my son is like all the things like you're a guy like what qualities do you want your son to have? So I want my son to be like super handsome and like super good at athletics and so smart he doesn't have to try. Interesting character when you actually get that in a human being. What the output of that is, right? So that and he's 19, 20 years old and living the life of an elite athlete who is like it's like ripped and tall and handsome and it's so funny. He works for one of my best friends, and he was the manny of this rich family where the mother is one of my best friends. And the kids didn't know he was my son, and I'm very close to their
Mhm.
family. And he ended up, we're all like family. Like he's like their brother now, right? But when he got hired to be our basketball coach, and they didn't know he was my kid. And later, I'm like, "Oh, how was that basketball coach?" He's like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah. He's my son." I'm just like, "Shut up." So Clark is like Brian Schneider. He's like got two earrings, like in a perm, and he's like 6 foot something and covered in tattoos. So, so
That's th that's pretty. Is he big on, like, TikTok? Is he, like, famous for being himself? It's not he's
no,
not that guy,
he
no?
has a he has a he has a YouTube channel. I mean, I think he has like an Instagram, but it's not like famous. It's probably just like we go to nice restaurants and he posts food porn, right?
Oh,
On
okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing he does. But he has a YouTube channel. But if you go to his YouTube channel, I hope you like catch and shoot threes because
Oh god.
his YouTube channel is a lot of catch and shoot threes, right? So,
I mean,
um,
there is a market for that.
yeah,
I mean
well, thank goodness he got recruited to play college basketball there.
oh, where's he going? Where's he
He
at?
currently goes to SUNY ESF, but I think he's gonna transfer. He decided to redshirt this year, actually.
Oh, cool.
So, I think like he decided. he wanted to have basketball be a thing that was joy for him, right? And like not his only thing. So it said he got like a 4.0 average in his in this last semester, and I think he's gonna like study business and probably go into private equity. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
His life has been written. It's like
I
you have
I
come.
I am so glad I have two kids who are relatively without. I mean, everybody has problems, right? But like their like paths are going to be pretty good, right? Like and I'm really lucky, and but like I said, they're grown. I mean, grown kids are expensive in a way that little kids are not. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I get called for electric bills a lot now. Like, Dad, can I have $100? I need to pay Con Ed.
Oh, I
So
remember. My credit card bill was paid until I, like, joined Wizards, right? You're like, "All right, dad, what do you" my dad was like, "What do you want for your holiday present?" I was like, "One more credit card payment, dad." He's like, "No."
so
That's a hard day. It's a hard day coming to your kids. I kinda
so
wanna do it for you.
I haven't gotten there yet, but I yeah, I love my kids, but they're not small. So like when people are like, oh, you're a dad, I have like so much free time right now, right? Working on some new businesses, doing some consulting, but I get to play a lot of Magic, and I would say this about pre-modern, about kind of coming back. I never cultivated male friendships in the way that I did in the last 3 years, which is an
Mm.
incredible thing to say, and it is so enriching, and Magic the Gathering, gave that to me.
Yeah, I think from a community building perspective, like, there are a few things I've found that are better. I do think, like, if you whenever you I think Magic is unique in its ways, and we can talk about like what makes it special. I think, going through hard challenges together, like making Magic together or playing a tournament together or, doing a startup and trying to forge something through the fire. Your team is like basically on fire until you figure out how to work together to make that stop. Those experiences end up being really important to like you bonding with other humans in a real way, right? It's different in in the Magic case, but I am interested, like, why do you think I mean, we've been doing this for 30 years. We've been, acclimated to this Magic community. What made it different this time? Like, you had a 3-year horizon on it. What's different about it this time?
I just got a house, and like I experienced genuine joy at the success of my friends. Like I I feel like okay, I've been in a house before. Okay, I'd been in a house before. I had been on the best team in the world before, right?
Mhm.
Um, I'd been on the best team in the world while bubbling out of the top 8 of a pro tour before. I had had individual accolades where, like, I've actually just literally just bubbled out of, like, a lot of top events, not unlike yourself, right? But
Mhm.
I was a little bit older than the other look, when I was coming up, I was a little bit older than the elite American players, just a little bit too old. And what
Yeah.
ended up happening was I got married and I started having kids right when people who are a little bit younger than me were starting to do things like organize teams that were gonna do really well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, when I came in 9th at nationals in 1999, like, I didn't practice for that nationals, right? I, like, read an article. I was friends with the CMU guys, so, like, I had, riffed a little bit with, like, Eric and Randy or whatever, and then I just had an idea. I'm like, and I could play the deck that I wanted to play very competently, right? Like,
Mhm.
it was a simpler time. When you know, I took a long stretch off of Magic, I like to joke, once my son was 10 years old, I was back on the Pro Tour, right? And I bubbled out of the top 8 of the first Pro Tour I was back at, and I missed an Eidolon trigger, right? And like that, I'm like, and I made it, of course, I will never miss an Eidolon trigger again. But I missed an Eidolon trigger, and it cost me the top 8 of a Pro Tour. You don't get a lot of bites of that apple, you
Yeah,
know?
that's right.
And so, um, I had experienced like, oh man, I was a little unlucky, or I had a little bit of regret, or thank goodness I was friends with so and so, and like they got me on the best team in the world for my first Pro Tour back, right? And I've been
Hmm.
friends with John. I'm just like casually friends with John Finkel. I was at his house last night. I was at John Finkel's house at 11:30 p.m. He kicked me out because he's just like, this game is over. We don't need to watch like the last 9 minutes. And what had happened was John taped the Cavs Lakers game, right? And he's like, we'll watch the Cavs Lakers game at like, because we did something else. So we'll watch the Cavs Lakers game at such and such a time. And he said, don't look at your phone, right? So he's like, if you look at your phone and you know the score, it'll spoil it. So John and I are just, the two of us are watching the Cavs Lakers game. And like, it's at the middle of the fourth quarter and Bronny James is on the floor, right? Like there's 9 minutes to go and Bronny James on the floor. John's just like, I'm pretty sure we know where this game is going. I'm going to go attend to my wife. John's also a newlywed, um, so he just married his
Very
wife,
cool.
like in the last 6 months or whatever. And he's like, get the hell out of my house. And I'm like,
It does make
okay.
sense.
Yeah. So, and so
Did she know she was marrying all of you?
it's pretty funny. Because Brooke once said to me, like, you guys are all Johns. Right? Like, and we're like trying to be nice to her. So Brooke is an international runway model. So
Okay.
she's from Australia. She's literally an international runway model who had a second life in tech, and she is a developer advocate, a senior developer advocate at Amazon now. Right.
Good.
So
Hmm.
like, imagine someone who in her teens and 20s was traveling the world as a clothes horse, right? Who was smart enough to become a programmer, not just smart enough to become a programmer, but smart enough to be plucked out of the outback and dropped into New York City as a developer, right?
Hmm.
By one
Hmm.
of the top 5 tech companies in the world, right? This is the woman John married, right? And so, uh, so yes, she did
Like a
kind
good
of
fit.
marry all of us, right? So, uh,
Yeah. She gets to be in the house too, so to
yeah.
speak.
So, but yeah. So literally everyone else had left, and it was just me and John on the couch. And 11:30 is just like, get out of my house.
But can she play cards?
I don't think he's ever tried.
I know it's not something that's a requirement.
You go to John's house on a weekend, for a cube day or whatever. Brooke will like just bring food, just like get takeout and just like have it there. I think she might be a vegan. I don't know.
Wow.
I asked John if
I
he wanted a treat. He sent me to a vegan bakery. So what do I know?
It sounds like she must be vegan. You don't do that on purpose unless
Well, maybe some people like cashew-based things instead of butter-based things.
that's not true. I think it's not possible that
Some
someone would do
people
that on purpose.
do. Um,
And I don't believe you.
so yeah, so John's a new literally last night we were watching a basketball game. And so like I've just been friends with them for 30 years, right? But we play remarkably little Magic with each other. It was
That's why you're friends still.
actually
No.
hilarious. Patrick Chapin was visiting me in New York a few years ago. We were just having dinner and ran
Mhm.
into somebody who was like, "Oh, you guys going to John's house to play Magic later?" And like, I'm always got invited, but I just never played Magic with their crew, right? Like, and um, it's just kind of. I'm like, I guess we kind of have to, right? So like, we literally ran into somebody, so we have to go upstairs. And so at the end of the day, the thing is like, yeah, and I ask John's opinion about things once in a while, right? Like, John's an avid cube drafter still, right? So I was in a cube competition and I was like, oh, what do you think about this? And John's like, well, if you're going to draft this archetype, you need to do this, 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 and this. And like,
Mhm.
so I got that from the horse's mouth. But now that you mention, I just don't talk about Magic with John Finkel very much. I could much rather talk about basketball, or like what movies we're watching, or if his wife likes carrot cake. Like those are the things that I talk to John Finkel about, and I literally see him every week.
That sounds okay to me. Is Cleveland good this year? Like, I know they were great last year, but,
It's
like,
what
they
good?
started the Cavaliers.
They are clearly the biggest disappointment in the NBA.
Yeah, I that's the impression I got.
They have the biggest salary uh by a full tier, and they are not in first place. Um, I don't know. I thought they would win about 52 to 57 games this year, so I thought they would deliberately play less hard than they did last year. I think
Yeah,
that if you just did a run rate, they're probably closer to winning 47 games than 57 games, which will still
they're a
make the
playoff
playoffs.
team. Yeah, yeah,
And I think that they might be great in the playoffs. Who knows, right? Um, you know, John and I were talking about Darius Garland a lot last night. He's like, "What's wrong with Garland?" I'm like, "He broke his other foot." And he's just like, "Huh?"
no,
He's like, "Oh, he had the toe sprain that took him out of the playoffs last year, and I guess he's been playing with a metal plate in his foot to hold his toe together, right? And he
uh,
sprained the other toe the same way." He's like, "Well, how long is he out?" I'm like, "I don't know. He was out for the first 2 months of the season." Um, so, and it must be hard to be Darius Garland, right? Like
yeah,
he was injured 2 years ago. They broke his jaw, so I don't remember who broke his jaw, but he couldn't eat for 3 months. So he's only drinking out of a straw with like his jaw wired shut. So he lost like 30 pounds. So he
Jesus,
obviously didn't have a great season, right? So he puts all of his body back on, makes his second All Star team, and then he sprains it. That they had the most dominant playoff series in the history of the NBA, and he sprains his toe. And then, I mean, I'm sure there are legitimate Indiana Pacers fans, but I think the best player on in that series was Tyrese Halliburton, and the next 11 best players were Cavaliers. Right? Like, that's
yeah,
that's
that's
how
probably true.
bad I think.
I kind of hate watching Siakam play basketball. We in Miami over the holiday, we watched Miami play Indiana, and Siakam is like without Halliburton, he's like Carmelo Anthony. It's just the one of the most miserable ISO players to watch
I
ever.
tell you,
Just
Carmelo Anthony is a tremendous influence on my life, right? So,
really, just how not to be on the court,
oh,
or no,
my
go
son
on.
was the worst person, right? So over COVID, he was the worst person. So he became a professional Fortnite player
Okay.
while we were in lockdown for like 2
Mhm.
years. But he played like, I don't know, like an Asian time or something. So he was always playing at like 2 a.m. And he was screaming at the screen. Okay. And like he was, I guess that's how Fortnite streamers at the time did it, right? He was just screaming at the screen, screaming. He's like, he was the worst person. So I would pull the internet out, like if I was pissed at him or whatever. There's the four of us were like stuck in an apartment together for 2 years, right? So
Yeah, that's miserable.
yeah, but well, one of us is a professional Fortnite player screaming at the screen at 2 in the morning. Okay, like that. It's not. This isn't an equal distribution of misery. Okay, so he's coming out of this, and he says to his mom, "He's like, I understand I've been a terrible person for 2 years." Right? So it's like, but I will be a good person if you buy me this expensive gym membership. And Carmelo Anthony had founded a gym in Midtown Manhattan in this place called Sky.
Mhm.
Funny thing, so Sky's in a luxury apartment building. One of my friends lived there. One night, she just said, "This is what's going on at the gym at my house." And there was a pickup game between Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, J.R. Smith, J.R. Smith's brother, and Kevin Durant. They were just
Wow.
playing at her apartment gym. She's like, she lived it, like literally a friend of mine lived there. She's like, "This is what's going on right now," right? Like she like filmed it and sent it to me. Anyway, so Carmelo Anthony founds this gym at Sky. And so my son and four of his friends taught themselves how to ride bikes because you couldn't even get there. We had to go up the West Side Highway on a bike. So there was like no good public transportation at the time in New York City. Taught himself to get up at 4 in the morning, taught himself how to ride a bike, bring their laptops, log in, pretend to go to school, and then play 16 hours of basketball a day with NBA players.
Wow. I mean, that's awesome.
When they got back to school the next year, they had two undefeated regular seasons, right? Um, And, like, my son has my genetics, or, like, 50% of my genetics is getting, like he played in 3 Rucker Park teams and got recruited to play college basketball, right? So, Carmelo Anthony is a substantial influence on my life.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
nice to hear a positive thing about him. I when I was in grad school, at Berkeley, I had to do this assignment, and I did a creative writing assignment. I was the best creative writer in data science school.
yeah.
I created this story about, like, Phil Jackson, and I had this graph of a frown, and I just created this fake data set, which was, like, how the audience felt about the game when Carmelo Anthony had the ball. And it was A plus. no
I
doubt, like, got the best grade on that one for sure.
Yeah, years before this, I remember watching a game live with my son, and it was the Cavs against the Knicks, and the Cavs were not good. It was, I think, probably before LeBron had come back to the Cavs, so the Cavs weren't good yet. I think they
Mhm.
had Kyrie, but they weren't good. Um, and I was just watching the first quarter, and I'm like, "The Cavs are gonna win this game." And my son was like, "You're just a Cavs homer, right?" And I'm like, "I am a Cavs homer, but I want you to understand something, right? Like, look at the shot selection the Knicks keep taking. They keep taking long ISO 2s. These
Yeah.
are not high quality shots. Look at the shots the Cavs are taking, right? Like they're passing the ball and they're getting shots in the paint or they're getting three-point shots. And this was before like the widespread proliferation of like the Popovich, philosophy of basketball, which Popovich unpopoviched afterwards, right? But like the 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 legacy era, like Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard Spurs were like passing, incredible shot selection. And I'm
They
like,
were kind of like the Warriors in a way, right? They're
well, the
like
Warriors are much more like I mean,
ballet.
Steve Kerr used to work for Greg Popovich. So let's not
There
say
you go,
which one
yeah.
was like the other one, right?
Well, I thought the Warriors were like ballet. Like, there was a period where, like, when they won their 3 championships before the most recent one, it was like I never felt like I had seen a basketball team that was that beautiful to watch.
No.
But
So they got cracked in 16. They got cracked in half.
but they won the other 3, right?
They did. They did win. They did win some other ones.
Sorry, I just, facts are facts,
I
but,
mean, you
you
can't.
did get one.
Well, first of all, it's bullshit. Okay. The first 2
I
years, the Cavs shoulda won in 15, but Kelly Olynyk ripped Kevin Love's arm out in the first round, and then Kyrie broke his knee in game 1. There shouldn't even been an overtime for him to break his knee. It was a bad call on Mozgov. The like last minute, they're like called traveling when there's 3 Warriors draped across his back. So they go to overtime and Kyrie breaks his knee in overtime. I mean, like that was some bullshit. And they still almost won that year. So they win in 16, and the Warriors' reaction is to add Kevin Durant. So they're
It's
like,
good strategy, right? Like, you
just
might
like,
as well the second
just like
best player alive, you might as well take him on your championship
they
quality
had
team.
73 wins. This would have been a great rivalry, right? That's a great rivalry. Like the 16 and 15 teams were pretty
I
evenly.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed this rivalry.
Well, no, it was horrible, right? It was horrible, especially like in 17. The Cavs lost one playoff game before the finals. And I just watched every possession. The Warriors just pass until they got Durant on a midi against J.R. Smith, and it always went in. And I'm like, he's the best jump shooter in history. And like the Cavs cannot stop them from just going pass. And the problem is J.R. Smith is an elite wing defender and like also 6 inches shorter than Kevin Durant.
Sure.
And I'm like,
So,
this is a trap. Like I can't. Oh, I couldn't. It wasn't even great shots. It's just they had the greatest jump shooter of all time, who happened to be 6 inches taller than the guy they got the switch on every possession.
so I talked to William Jokic, who was the first game developer on Magic, and I talked to Mike Elliott, who was, on Magic soon after that and worked on design for Tempest and Urza's Saga. And they were like, "Oh, we got the power level wrong for Urza's Saga." It was, egg on their face. And I'm just like, that was the best time of Magic's life. From my perspective, it was just so fun. You were so powerful. And that's kind of what the Warriors team was. The best era of
I,
basketball that
I,
I've ever been party to.
no. 2000. Well, yeah, 2016 is the best of everything. Everything went down from culturally. 2016 is the pinnacle of human civilization, I think.
Yeah,
I think
right before the election, right?
no. I think it starts to fall in the World Series when the Indians are up 3-1, and and I
A
remember.
Cleveland first perspective. Yes, go on.
Well, think about it. The Cavs had just won the title, and the Indians are up 3-1. Right? Like
Mhm.
this is a watershed moment for American history, right?
Sure.
And then it begins like the rain out in game 7, like the Indians are about to win the game, and then the momentum shifts because there's a rain out, and then that was heartbreaking when they had started up 3-1, and then the election, and then it hasn't been It hasn't been good since.
It
Or
is
as good.
weird.
Personally, for me, I had a lot of highs since then, but I think
Yeah, me too.
culturally, we could have done better.
So I'm gonna make you the boss of all things magic. Like you take over for whomever's in charge. I think it's Rebecca is in charge of the whole brand now. Like you take over. Like Rebecca reports to you. What do you do with it? What do you do
What is
with
my job? Am I in charge of the
all of it?
brand,
The
the
whole
game? What?
franchise, all of it. You can't get away from it. The whole thing.
Why? Brian Schneider, I believe everything is a math equation. I would have to
Oh.
understand the inputs of the math equation. I would have to understand what we're trying to get to, right? I had an interesting conversation recently where I'm like, if we're trying to do this, this, and that, you said earlier, it's like
Hmm.
we made limited good and we made constructed good. We made tournaments good. I'm not sure that was the right thing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a profound set of sentences to me because I would have never come to the conclusion that you should ask the question, I'm not sure if that was the right thing, after you did those first two things. I think there are, you know, there is what's good for Magic, what's good for Hasbro, as Magic is a big chunk of Hasbro. There's what's good for Hasbro shareholders. There's what's good for Hasbro investors. I
Hmm.
guess shareholders. There's what's good for the Hasbro board. There's what's good for Hasbro executives. I think a lot of the direction that Magic goes under right now is just what's good for Hasbro executives, and not
I
what's
think
good
that's
for
true.
Hasbro.
I think that's clear. Yeah.
Not what's good for Hasbro. Not what's good for Hasbro. Not what's good for Hasbro shareholders. I read a book recently. It's just like, what is Peugeot? It's like, it's Peugeot cars, right? If we exploded every Peugeot car or erased them or melted them down, would there still be Peugeot? Yes, there's IP for Peugeot. There's a brand. There's offices. There's people who work there. They have schematics to make another car. Well, what if we erase all those? Well, there's still cars, right? Like, what is Hasbro? What is Magic? I don't know. So you'd have to tell me, what outcome am I optimizing for? And if I understand what outcome I'm optimizing for, I might disagree with you. If you say to me, I would love for whatever the conditions are that maximize the bonus of the Hasbro CEO. That's the thing I'm optimizing for. Okay? And I don't know what those components are. Maybe it's
Hmm.
stock price, maybe it's sales, I don't know what it is, okay? And you say that is the outcome I'm optimizing for. I might say, okay, well, how did we set these criteria, right? I've been in a lot of, you know, uh, bonus allotment meetings in my career.
Hmm.
And I'd be like, well, the paper says this, and this job is definitely not as hard as this job. And it's kind of bullshit that you're going to pay this person this amount of money when their job is so much easier than this person's job. It's like, well, on the piece of paper, this person fulfilled the conditions for, a level 3 bonus, and this person didn't fulfill the conditions for anything. And I'm like, well, this person made 7 times as much money for the company as this person. Does make a lot of sense to you, right? Like, maybe we
Hmm.
shouldn't look at it this way, right? So, if you're like, how do you assess someone at the individual contributor level? How do you assess the CEO? I would say, tell me where I'm supposed to be pointed towards. And from there, I will tell you if I even agree with that's where we should be pointed towards. Okay. If
Hmm.
it's entirely up to me, I
It
would
is.
like
It is.
I would like Magic to be the healthiest and the strongest they can be for the longest period of time to bring the most joy to bring the highest amount of joy. Now, maybe not the most joy. Like, if you bring a small amount of joy to an enormous amount of people, maybe you have the most like nothing burger lukewarm Magic but a billion people played it and got one util
I
of
made
joy
that
out of it.
game. I made
What?
that game. It was called Cityville. Farmville was like that.
I'm not
Continue.
interested in that game. I
Yeah,
want,
me neither.
I want, as I recall, you wanted me to come work with you at Zynga. Uh,
I did. I was on Cityville at the time. It was the
so,
biggest game in the world.
I I don't know how many of me's there are in the population, right? But I would want to make a game that you have, flattering myself, smart people dedicating a big chunk of their time, their mental energy, creating community, creating joy for people at a high, high level of contribution. I would want to find those people and prop up something that people love and love in an enduring way, right? And I think Magic is special from that perspective versus other games, right?
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
I don't need Magic to be Cityville. Okay. It used to be, I'd get in an argument with somebody who's like, "Ugh, look at the revenue of League of Legends and compare that to the revenue of Magic Online. Like, Magic would kill for the revenue of League of Legends. League of Legends would kill for the per user, uh,
LTP.
revenue contribution of a Magic Online customer. These are just two different things. Like Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon all sell things that have circuits in them, right? And they are in very different quadrants, and they are all successful companies, right? Like
Hmm.
you don't need Google to be Microsoft. That's Google and Microsoft are two different entities that do two different things very well, right? Amazon sells elite products to people who have too much money in their pocket. Amazon sells products at every level to everybody, right? And different
Hmm.
levels of intensity. They're both successful businesses. So, you made Cityville. I don't need Magic to be Cityville, right? I don't want Magic to be Cityville. And I feel like the commanderification of Magic is in a directional perspective, turning Magic into Cityville, right? You have
Okay.
dramatically lower per user revenue, right? Because they're not 30-year dedicated own foil Gaia's create, like they're not all this consumer, and they own one copy of cards instead of four or more copies of cards. They own one deck instead of 20 decks, right? But there's a lot of them, or twice as many as we used to have, if that's a lot of them. I don't think that is the unique XY combination that Magic can be. And Magic at its highest is really high Y, right? Like that's what I would want. I would want. I don't need Magic to sell so much today and tomorrow. I would rather Magic sells forever, or the whatever heat death of the universe. Human perception. Like how long we have a light cone. I'm fine with that. I mean, it doesn't have to be the highest number today. And I feel like optimizing for short-term executive compensation is just like how much did we sell today? How much revenue do we generate today? Disregardless of what the customer acquisition costs were. We'll worry about that next year. Next year's shareholder meeting can worry about that. I would start with tell me what to optimize for. I will tell you if I agree. If I agree, I'm like, okay, and then I would pull these levers and these levers. Um,
Yeah.
I would want to have if I worked there, I would want to have the best, smartest people who I liked be the people who were next to me every day. And I used to always smile, like, all the people who I came up with,
Hmm.
um, ended up being in R&D. Like, Worth and you and Randy and Eric and, we're
Aaron, Mike.
all
Yeah.
all Mike, I mean, like, all ended up in R&D. And I'm just like, that's a great destiny for someone who's smart and loves magic,
Hmm.
And so I would wanna do whatever I had to do. I mean, Worth just came back, right?
He did.
You know, to make it so that the people who I liked would be next to me. And I don't know if there's people who I hate. Like, I don't know if there are, but if there were, I would get rid of all of them. And I am a ruthless optimizer when it comes to human resources. I'm
Yeah. My
I am a fire fast executive, and I would not be shy about it.
my impression is that the culture shifted for the better after my time, where I think there's, not the 90s were quite countercultural. I think increasingly over time, like magic has become more cultural. And I think the people who make it are more likely to like be able to align on where they want to go. It was very interesting. Like it came up yesterday in a chat with William Jokic where we were a wolf pack. We were designed to fight each other at all times and argue until we found the perfect answer. And, for William, he was on the outs sometimes because he wanted a very, very balanced game. And that was less fun than the game that everyone else wanted to make, the more designy side. And so politically, he lost sometimes and lost credibility at points because of that. I think that Magic probably does not have that dynamic as much now. It's more like, oh, we all understand what Magic's going to be, and while there may be some dissent, it's not built around dissent as like the core engine that makes R&D go. Is
Mark
my
wrote
get.
Mark wrote a blog post recently. It's funny. Mark was in New York last week, and I didn't get a chance to see him. But he wrote a blog post, and he said, "I don't want to put too many words in. Like, I don't want to put too much connotation of it, but really just focus on what he said. It's just like Mark was a kind of I hate to use the word depressed, but I think that's the word that he used. Mark
Mhm.
and R&D were depressed because Magic is the greatest strategy game of all time, and they don't design a strategy game anymore. And,
Yeah, yeah.
like and it was only because he saw that the Commander players were having so much social fun that he kind of came out of this doldrum, right?
Mhm.
But if it were up to me, I would make a strategy because that's what I like. And I think from a consumer confidence standpoint, I hate the fact that you have cards that are like $40, $45 in the secondary market that have been printed in the last 12 months that are just getting banned left and right. Like
Yeah. It reminds me
that
of
is
Mirrodin, right? Like,
really, really
yeah,
not great.
it
Um,
didn't feel good.
no, the Mirrodin cards, like, what was the most expensive card in that era? Like, Arcbound
Ravager
Ravager?
maybe? Yeah.
$25, right? The
Yeah, yeah.
cards are so much more expensive in the secondary market now. Like, an Oko at its height was like $45 to $60, and it went to a crater. I wonder how many Okos were in print. And, like, Arcbound Ravager was also not consensus. You could play, like, an Achroma deck. You could play a white control deck. You could play a
Tooth and
Goblin.
nail. Yeah.
Yeah, you could play Tooth and Nail, you could play, like, a Molder Slug deck that just blew up a bunch of artifacts. Um, Eric Froelich won a qualifier with blue-white control, and BDM told me, "This just proves it doesn't matter how expensive or bad a counterspell is, they're still good enough to win." You know? Like, because he was playing, like,
Yeah, yeah.
4 casting cost garbage counterspells, because that was what was in prints at the time, and he still could win. Archmad Ravager was the best, but it was not consensus. At the time of Oko Thief of Crowns, you could not really play another strategy. It was like if you played this Oko deck, or this anti-Oko Oko deck, right? And so all of the decks were Oko decks, and so everybody who was wanted to play tournaments had to own 4, and then they all cratered in value. So I don't know how many Okos were in print, but I think that must have been like the single greatest loss of
Value in
Magic
the
card
card.
value in history the day that that card got banned. Um, so I would not, and then it didn't stop. Like, over the course of the next 2 years, there's just bans, like 2, 3 bans every single set. And up to and including the one that gets me because, I'm friends with so many people who used to be in R&D, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Who are, just a casual Magic player now, but used to be in R&D. And I don't know what the furor would have been like if there hadn't been the pandemic. Ikoria Layer of Behemoths, is that the name of the set? The the Like, the showcase mechanic was Companion, and when it came out, Zvi Moshowitz was like, "This was a gigantic mistake." It was such a gigantic mistake, they got the cost of every Companion wrong by the delta between an Ancestor Recall and a Concentrate, and they still had to ban half of them. Like, and there were 10 of them. So there's
It
one
seems
for
really
every
weird.
card pair, and they got the cost wrong by 3 on every single card, and they still had to ban half of them. Like,
Hmm.
that is a that the amount of complaining I heard from ex R&D members on that was, and the level of vitriol was like, this was not right. And I think the only thing that saved a lot of jobs was the fact that there was the pandemic, was that these cards were never played in paper,
Yeah.
right?
The
So,
bubble,
yeah, so, like,
the magic bubble.
by the time they were gonna be played in paper, they were rotated out. And so, um I own the full set. You know?
I don't like them, but I have them.
Well, I I used to buy full sets of whatever came out, right? But, I had a lot of store credit from writing Magic articles, and what are you gonna do with it, you know?
Mhm.
If you don't spend it, it just sits in the store credit pile, and somebody else is earning interest on my labor. What kind of capitalist am I then? Mm.
Yeah, no, that all computes for me. Do you have a favorite, like, historical store? Like, you've played in a lot of different stores. Is it
Favorite
as easy?
historical store?
Yeah, game
Mister
store.
Cards and Comics, in Ohio, is the
Okay.
store where I first bought my first pack of Magic, and I met Worth. And, I'm still friends with the owner to this day. Um, and,
It's a good community.
yeah, so, Matt Cavada lived down the street.
Mhm.
So that place is, I lost a lot of money as a teenager playing poker in the back room after hours that I should not have been doing. I took all my
That's just education, right? You
that is
learn how
just
to play
education.
poker better.
I earned a lot of money carrying golf bags during the day, and then I hemorrhaged it at night playing with grown-ups. And they probably shouldn't have let me play because I was an adult, I guess, but I was also a teenager. Um,
I
so
know I know something about Matt Cavada you might not know.
I'm sure you know a lot of things.
I
Matt Cavada moved to
he
Seattle to be in WotC.
he was very good at softball. One day, my softball team, the Yabba Dabba Jews, was not flush with people, so we brought Rachel Reynolds, Matt Place, and Paul Sotosanti and Matt Cavada to play with us. And Cavada was A plus. Like that guy could have played in the A League. He had quite
Really?
a lot of skill. He was quite coordinated. He like runs marathons and stuff. So like he was the best player on the team. Did you not know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's talented and athletic and everything, an artist too.
And and an artist too, you don't say. Um,
Uh, yeah.
so my favorite store is that, and then, I love my current community. I play at a store called Hex& and Company. That's where I'm gonna play tonight.
Okay.
Uh, it is wonderful, and I'm gonna shout out Misty Mountain Games, which is the store that Brian
Ryan
Cool
Coval.
owns in Madison, Wisconsin. I have never been there, but I'm shouting it out because I wouldn't even play Pre-Modern if not for Brian Kowal, who is one of my longest standing and best friends in Magic the Gathering. And I'm sure you have an opinion, right? It's the family business.
Family business. Yeah, I think my favorite game store is probably in Virginia. The game parlor there in Alexandria was kind of similar to Neutral Ground, but it catered more to non-Magic, so it felt like a place where all kinds of gamers were supported, and it was a big store. It was really nice.
How can I not say neutral ground?
I know, I thought that
How
too.
can
I
I
was
not say
like,
neutral ground? Oh
no,
my
it was a trick question. It was an elusive, obvious question to see if,
god.
like, so in grad school, I had this professor, Alex Hughes, and he would just ask the most obvious question, like, Mike, what's your name? And you would just be like, but that's very complex because no one would ever ask you that. It's your name. Of course you know it.
Okay,
And that was
obviously
that
the
moment.
answer is neutral ground. So bad. Oh my
I
god,
know.
I'm so
I
calcified.
judged you for it. Yeah, I mean, it was a tough place to play, but it was a good place to play. Um, yeah,
I
that
bet
was a
you're
good
the
one too.
best if you've won, like, multiple qualifiers there. Like, let's say you've won, like,
Yeah, yeah.
more than 2 qualifiers in neutral ground, you're probably the best. Not saying if I know anyone who would fit that particular profile. Maybe won, like, 4 qualifiers there, like, you're probably pretty good. Just saying.
Yeah. I couldn't guess who you're referring to.
Yeah, but I don't know how many people have actually won 4 qualifiers there. You'd have to look up in the annals, but if you were to go discover one and over a stretch of years also, right? Like, you know, might have gotten the last one in, like, 2007 or something right before they, move locations. Like, that person probably be an ace. Just
hmm,
saying.
I can't counter
Maybe put away a
anything
state
you're saying.
championship or 2 there also. Like, I'm just Oh, wait. Brian Schneider, you asked on one of your things to share trophies, right?
Oh, yeah,
So, no,
yeah,
I
I
knocked
remember
down
that.
all these magic cards. Here's
Yo,
my
oh, look at that.
state championship trophy, and I was gonna bring my new city championship
Very
trophy.
nice.
It's nice. My new city championship trophy is nicer than a Pro Tour trophy. It's really nice.
Do they still
Um,
do this stuff?
next time we talk, I'll show you, but I don't have it here. I left it at my friend's house. Um,
It was too big to no, just it's like, yeah, I have my trophies up there. I almost won all of them in 1997. I lost in the finals of the constructed one, and, uh, I didn't win them both. That's just the way the reality played out.
like I told you, you were in the quadrant challenging for best player in the world. You were just unlucky, and then we would have never known because you immediately went to go work for the dark side in Renton, Washington.
Yeah, I was qualified for 2 Pro Tours when I joined Wizards, and I was, like, kinda relieved to get the job. I was like, I never have to play these, and, I never did.
But it's so different, like maybe I only think it's different because I was young then and now I'm old. But like
Mhm.
I felt like all the guys I knew who were like trying to be professional Magic players were so stressed about money all the time.
Yeah, it was funny talking to Randy. I asked him about it, like, because I remember Randy, and he was much more serious when he was treating it like his job than he was prior to that, right?
Yeah,
Um, and Warren Marsh, you remember that guy?
I
That guy
remember.
tried to play for, yeah, he had a whole year where he was like, "I'm going to give it my best," and like it wasn't a good year, even though he was a really like kind of beloved guy. It just didn't go well, right? Um, yeah, you become soured by like the stress level that being
Well,
pro.
for sponsorships and stuff like that. But if you looked at like lifetime winnings, it was like John, Kai, and Bob
Yeah,
was in third place at like $73,000 or something. Which is
yeah,
like
it's not a life.
these are like the three best players of all time cumulative earnings, and then like like this is like the best player having a great year. Right? Like he made less than $100,000, right? Which is insane because of how much we were celebratizing professional Magic at the time. Just like,
Hmm.
and in my head, I'm like, oh my god, this is what every kid should aspire to. And I actually argued it should. In like around 2007, I pitched Scott Johns, who was, and I'm like, um, I think that all of your customer acquisition kind of marketing strategy is really bumbling, right? And it's bad. And he's like, what would you do? And I'm like, well, I would just buy digital ads on gaming websites.
Hmm.
And I would have this round table and I would showcase Bob Maher, John Finkel, Dave Williams, and Brian Kibler, right? And basically it'd be like, I own a company. Like, I won a World Series of poker bracelet. I drove the Batmobile. Like now I make like $1 million making YouTube videos, right? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
and like, I run a hedge fund and I'm also the greatest blackjack player of all time. What do we have in common? We are from an era of iron sharpening iron on the professional Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. And if you want to have jobs like this, don't bother with the stupid like John like was a horrible student at Rutgers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like a D average student at Rutgers. And he's like one of the smartest people on the planet. He really runs a hedge fund today. Okay. Like it's just like you want these are elite destinies for somebody. I don't know where Dave actually graduated, if he graduated from UT or Princeton
SMU.
or SMU, right? It was
Yeah,
like UT, Princeton. He was in Princeton when I met him, like bouncing around, right? But like he's just like, I don't like it. Who leaves Princeton to play poker?
yeah. He
Like,
wasn't happy. I
yeah,
remember
no,
seeing
no,
him in New York. Yeah, he just was
I
like, "This
get it.
isn't
My
a
my
good
kid,
spot."
my kid is a celebrity where he goes to school, and he's going to leave because he wants to be more serious about his post basketball destiny, right? So, like, if you want these destinies, look at like Kyle Boddy and Ted
Yeah,
Knutson,
super cool.
like secondary characters in the first era of the Pro Tour. Teddy Knutson is like the world's foremost expert on soccer. Like
Soccer analytics, right? Yeah, it's
soccer
crazy.
is the most popular thing, and like he came out of being a Pro Tour journalist, right? Like he wasn't ever good enough to play on the Pro Tour, but he was just surrounded by this V. Moshewitzes, Kai Budas, etc. of the world, and got sharpened into the world's foremost expert on soccer, right? Like Kyle can take a guy from Japan and make him into the greatest baseball player of all time. Like this, okay, I changed my answer, Brian Schneider.
Do it.
This is what magic is. Magic, the magic I came up playing, whatever, like I was a CMO, right? Like you did a ton of interesting things. Like you didn't just like make the best set that changed a bunch of people's lives. You also, you know, sold companies to Netflix and to Zynga and, worked on all these interesting things. We all did interesting things with our lives. And what did we have in common, right? Like we came up in the iron sharpening iron era of the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. And some of us weren't that good, right? But we
Mhm.
came up and I'm literally the story is I was like on the couch with the best player of all time, just watching a basketball game with my buddy last, right? Like, and forged lasting relationships and did interesting things with our lives. And this is the promise that Magic can bring. I don't think
Yeah.
the promise of Magic is a bunch of idiots who can't count negotiating who gets to play their cards badly next turn. It kills me like that's what people think Magic is, right? Like I don't know. Like, I have opinions about stuff.
Yeah, no, it's hard not to be grateful for, like, the community building around this and, like, the growth that came from it for all of us, I think, through, like, playing this game. I think it's a really unique thing that isn't really that well understood by the population at large. Like, this community, as you said, like, has accomplished, like, far more than you would suspect. Like, a games when you watch, like, people doing Rubik's Cube competitions, you're like, "Okay, that's it for them," and it's not it for them, right?
I I had this conversation with John a few months ago about Taylor Swift, and that the thing that I admired most about Taylor Swift was that she was probably a better SEO than I am. And I'm like, that is an insane sentence to say because I'm really good, right? Like, and he's just like, oh, well, she's not that. I'm like, she is the best showman who ever lived, and it's not arguable. Like, she is the best showman who ever lived. And I think she's the best songwriter of the generation. The only knock against her is she mostly writes songs about things that, like, people who are so cultured about songwriting criticism don't take seriously. They don't take the heartbreak of a 15-year-old as a serious topic, but she crystallized the heartbreak of a 15-year-old in a way that 15-year-old girls just all cry over. Like, her ability is incredible, and she's a great SEO, and she's generous and all these things, and she's one person. And John's like, I don't know. And I said, you of all people, how can you possibly? How can somebody? If I said this guy is I don't know how good of a hedge fund manager he is, but seems to be pretty good hedge fund manager, right?
I'm
Like,
sure he's good.
the best sports gambler, the best blackjack player, and the best Magic player of all time is one human being, right? Like, this is like a lot of this up into the right stuff is achievable by a person, like, and he's like also, a pretty good friend who has people over his house to, like, watch movies and basketball games every week, and we drink your seltzer water, right? Like, you know?
He's a real person. There was a video I made with Albert Burkhead. I don't know if you remember this event. Do you remember an event in New Jersey? It was at the place where Harold's exists in Edison. And John Finkel, it was during the period where there was a card called Final Fortune, and he tried to play an infinite Final Fortune deck, which we called Final Finkel. But it didn't quite work the way he wanted, but he was very committed to it. And so, like, he kept playing even though he was losing,
Yeah,
and, like, he wouldn't give up
I
until
lived in
he finally figured
Philadelphia
it out.
when this was going on, so,
Yeah, it was very
before I moved to
funny.
New York.
Like, it's a different John than, like, today's serious John, probably, right?
Today's Serious John is Today's
He's a
Serious John
different
is
man.
way less serious than
Oh, good, good.
that.
Okay.
Trust me, he's just like, Cash loves his cat, like,
So that's a relief.
just loves his cat. Like, we're sitting there, he's just petting his cat. Right? Like, just got married. Today's John settled down. Like, he's not
It's
he's
a
not the freewheeling, blackjack room John of the early 2000s that but all of the versions of John are great, but this version is less serious in some ways.
yeah,
I have to go play Magic.
oh my god, that was bold but awesome at the same time. Well, go we wish you great victory and accomplishment. If you get a trophy, please share
I'm
us a
just
picture.
gonna play for fun with my friends,
That
and
sounds
that's the
even
thing
better.
I'm doing. So, I like to win, and also if I don't win, it's okay.
It's beautiful, Michael.
Yeah.
You have evolved over the last 30 years. Great to see you.
Not
Go
far,
have
not far. When it's a
Fresh.
league match that matters, but
I expect you to win tonight, Mike.
I'm gonna try. Okay. I'm gonna play a
All
deck
right.
that Lan and I've been working on, so we'll see what happens.
All right. I'll ask him how it went.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
See you, boss.